Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of On the Couch with Creatives. I say good morning because I'm here in the UK, but good afternoon or good evening if you're anywhere else in the world. I'm Melanie Perry.
And I'm Julie Hyde-Mew.
And this is On the Couch with Creatives. Fans and followers of the show will know that we're part of the Creatives Group, the network for creative professionals across the globe. Together, we help you connect, create, and grow your creative business. So if that sounds like you and you'd like to join the growing number of creative professionals in our network, please do feel free to reach out to us after the show. But this is On the Couch. So Julie, who do we have on the couch today?
On the couch today is children's author and publisher MARVA CARTY. She's the CEO of the MangoLime Publishing and the author of MariLovesMangoes and MariLoves Reading. So Marva's obviously a fruit lover. So let's see what she's all about. Bring her on the couch, Melanie. Hi, Marva. Thanks for joining us on the couch.
Hi, Julie. Hi, Melanie.
Lovely to see you here. Let's get this fruit thing out of the way first, Marva. Why have you called your publishing company MangoLime, and why are your books all about mango?
Well, mangoes are my absolute favorite fruits. And lime is actually, apart from the obvious meaning, obvious reference to the citrus fruit, lime is actually a term that comes from Trinidad, which means to hang out, enjoy, chill, relax. So we say, oh, we're going to lime. We use it as a verb. We use it as a noun. We're going on a lime. We're liming. So MangoLime is sort of a double meaning. So you take the two fruits, mango, my favorite fruit, and lime. We had a massive lime tree in my backyard when I was growing up in Trinidad. That I used to it was my first entrepreneurial venture. I would sell the limes to the local corner store. And then the second meaning of lime as in, having a good time, enjoying yourself, etc. So that's where that's kind of the inspiration behind MangoLime. I've been obsessed with mango since I was a small child. And so my first children's book, MariLovesMangoes, is a thinly disguised version of myself. If anyone knows me and how much I love mangoes.
I love that. I like mangoes too. I do. There's not much not like.
Come on, they're very messy.
Yeah.
Juicy. Yeah. I could just eat one now, actually.
Yeah.
So you were born in England, but you spent your childhood on the Caribbean Island of Trinidad. Yes. And then you won a scholarship and you went to university in the United States?
Yes. So I kind of, been a little bit of a traveler. But I've actually come full circle now and ended up back in Slough, which was where I was born. People may think, oh, that's a bit strange. A lot of people try to move away from Slough. But as luck would have it, I've come back to my point of origin.
There's a lot going on in Slough because I've lived near Slough for many years, in Datchet and Langley, and there's a lot going on there. And of course, it's becoming the hub now of the film industry.
Yes, it is. I think Slough is a very underrated place. There's, as you say, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on below the surface, and a lot of creatives, that is a pleasant surprise as well.
So how did you get from Slough to Trinidad? What's the story from leaving Slough to going to Trinidad?
So I left Slough when I was 4 years old. My parents met in Slough and, fell in love, got married here, and then had my sister and myself. And then they decided that they felt at that point in time, which was, kind of like 1980, that they would have more opportunities in the Caribbean. So they decided to give it a shot. And so that's how come, I ended up growing up in the Caribbean. I didn't really remember, as I say, I was very young, did not remember much about those early years in England. So my formative, my childhood experiences were really set in the Caribbean. And then my parents, they never really came back here. They settled out there.
Don't you miss the warmth and the sun and the mangoes?
Yes. But to be fair, Julie, on the day like today when the sun is shining, there is something about, the English summer and, the beauties of England when the weather is great. No one can deny that. And everyone just seems more relaxed.
Are you saying that the British are more relaxed than the Trinidadians?
No, nobody is more relaxed than Trinidadians.
We just unbend a little bit when the sun comes out.
Yes.
So when did you start writing children's books, and why did you start writing children's books?
Well, Julie, I've always had an interest in reading, writing. I think the two are inextricably linked. I would not lie, I was a big bookworm as a child. It's compulsive reader, anything I could get my hands on. To the point where my mom had to like strike a deal with the local bookshops because I was just reading stuff too fast. So there's always been, I've always kind of done things probably more casually, always had that interest. But I think like a lot of writers, we kind of get hamstrung by imposter syndrome and thinking we have to do things in a particular way or follow a certain path in order to be taken seriously. So for a long time, I kind of put those things aside, even though it came out in unexpected ways through, different professions where I would write certain things or I'd get involved, it would come out indirectly. And then, like, I guess a number of people during the course of the pandemic, had thoughts about, okay, it's now or never to kind of really explore, more formally certain creative options. So in the summer of 2021, I decided to give it a try. And I didn't really tell anyone at the time what I was doing. I kept it very secret. I don't think necessarily at that time because of a lack of confidence, but I didn't necessarily want to get distracted with too much external input. And I just wanted to see where the journey would take me. So I was actually sitting here in this study, and an idea just came to me, about this little girl and mangoes, and I just started writing, and then I put it down, and then it just kind of kept niggling at me to do something with it, and so like, okay, I'm going to do a picture book. And I approached an illustrator who had kind of been observing for some time and asked them to do a sample. And when the sample came back, you know, when something just kind of stabs you in the heart. It's just, yo, I got really emotional when I saw, you know, kind of like it starting to visualize. And so then I agreed with them, you know, after, you know, providing a brief, etc., that we would go on this journey to see how it would turn out. And but I didn't really have a big plan as such as to, I just wanted to do the book. But I hadn't really thought that far ahead of, okay, so after you do the book, then what? In my mind, on one level, I kind of understood what needed to be done, but I hadn't really mapped it out because I just wanted to get to that point. And the things just kind of snowballed from there. You know, I got really positive response, and you know, then a lot of different opportunities came out of it. And I just, you know, it kind of just flowed from there. And then a year later, it was a year later, then I released my second book towards the end of last year. And now I'm working on the third in the trilogy, as well as some other another project. And yeah, it's just been, I couldn't have foreseen how things would play out, just from taking that one step forward.
So you said trilogy with Mari Loves, so there's a third book, but do you not see her going on as a series? You know, you could have a whole series of Mari Loves certain things. Do you see yourself doing more?
I could do, but I feel that I have, to be honest, I have so many ideas, Melanie. I just feel like for so many years, I've been an ideas person, letting things just mull around in my mind. And now I'm like, okay, you got to the point where you can execute, and I just want to keep it rolling. And also, you know, it's a learning process along the way in many ways. So even though I could technically go on with quite an extended series, I feel like there are stories that I want to prioritize. So yeah.
What about self-publishing? Because that is an issue that always comes up when people write and then illustrate and then produce their own children's books, and then they have to find a publisher, or they self-publish. And so many authors are self-publishing these days because the technology is there to do so. So tell us about your self-publishing path.
So I actually did quite a lot of research, you know, into the different options before I actually started, because I actually had another project in mind before I did my first one, and I just wanted to find out what the different options were, you know, whether it was a case of, you know, trying to pitch, you know, to a traditional publisher, you know, as opposed to going an independent route, etc. And what I think was really important for me was the control of the creative process. And I felt that I had enough of understanding of how certain things worked, you know, from past experience in different roles to feel confident to try things out for myself. So I think when it comes to making that decision about which route you're going to go, I think where a lot of people fall down is that they don't think past the creation of the book. They kind of see, like, I'll write the book, and then I put it up somewhere on a platform, whether that's Amazon or whatever, and then everything then takes care of itself. And to be fair to people, it's a kind of a case of if you don't know, you don't know. So why would you assume that there's much more to it beyond that? Because we've never really been educated in that way, because there's never really been a need to. Because for, up until maybe about 10, I would say about 10, 15 years ago, the only real options were trying to break in through the doors of the traditional publishing industry. So it is actually, to be fair, quite it can be very daunting and challenging to know how to make that decision. But I would say that this is where the importance of networks and communities, really help, because you can also find yourself in a situation where you're open to scammers, and, or just general bad advice, and you can find yourself losing a lot of money, time, and also you may even lose your own, creative output. So there's a lot to really, so I think it boils down to, and I think that's advice for any venture that you go into. Tread carefully, do some research, and try to use verified sources. Don't necessarily go headlong into stuff, because I see it every single day. I'm a part of a number of different, whether it's Facebook groups, or then every day I see people either have been scammed or about to be scammed, or just generally not listening to what people are advising them, so yeah, it's a lot to process. But I'm the kind of person as well that I ask a lot of questions, and I also sit back and I observe things. I don't necessarily jump into things headlong. So I think that has saved me to a certain extent.
So did you decide to self-publish, or did you decide to start your own publishing company? How did the chicken come before the egg, or how did it work?
Yeah. So what I did, Julie, is I decided to self-publish. And what I did is I then created my own publishing imprint, which, so my books come under my own umbrella or branding. So it was really because ultimately I don't want to just only do books for myself, but, be able to bring stories from other people to the fore. But I have so much that I want to do for myself first. So I need to get that out of it. But ultimately, that is my aim, to help bring more stories to the fore. It may not necessarily be even in book format. It could be in other, different formats and platforms, but, one step at a time. So I was thinking, both short term and, medium to long term.
How did you avoid scammers and things when you just by research? Because you say it's quite an interesting point that there are a lot of people out there who want to part you from your money, or intellectual property, or both. So how can you avoid those things? And are there any telltale signs of certain scams that you've seen that you could say, well, if you see this, smell a rat?
Mm-hmm. So one of the main kind of sources or reference sources for me has been a Facebook group by the name of 20 Books to 50K, which, in a nutshell, the philosophy is, you could put in place a strategy where you write 20 books and it could get to the point where you generate an income of 50,000 a year, which, for most people is enough to kind of be comfortable, etc. Right? So that group has thousands and thousands of writers of all different levels. You have a number of 6 and 7 figure authors in there, from people who are just starting, but it's a very tightly run ship. They do not allow. It's very highly very tight administration. You can ask questions in there. There's a lot of resources about how to market your book. There's things on craft. But there's no charge for anything. It's just a community supporting and uplifting self-published authors. That has been an incredible resource for me, to the point where even this time last year, I got a scholarship from that group to go to the conference in Madrid, where I met some of the other authors and founders and people who were just really supportive. So that, I would say, absolutely invaluable resource there. Then the other one is I joined an organization called the Alliance of Independent Authors. And their whole vision is about lifting the profile of independently published authors, making sure that they can get the same level of respect and opportunities as those in the traditionally published world. And part of their membership benefit is that they have a verification kind of service of different suppliers and providers, where if you suspect you may want to take part in, particular service, whether that's, publishing service or illustration or editing, they will check that these are legitimate people. And, so that is also valuable. They even have a contract service where if you have a contract that you want to have reviewed, you can send it to them, and they will give you advice, which is also absolutely incredible. So, for the, people might say, oh, that's a cost and whatever, but compared to the cost that you could lose from, throwing your money into any, so it's a very small, these are, it's reasonably priced. They have conferences, they have lots of free guides on all kinds of different topics, and they're really like the advocate for the independently published author, because we need advocates, because it can be quite lonely and confusing out there. So yeah, so those are some of the examples. And yeah, and also, it might sound a bit of a cliche, but you follow your gut. If it always works for me, if something's just not sitting right, or you're being pushed to do something really quickly, where you won't have enough time to review it, then ask yourself, why is this person pushing me to do this that quickly? Is there some ulterior motive? So those are some of the key things that have helped me.
Brilliant. I think that's top advice, and I think the thing about pushing people to do things quickly, I think that's a big red flag, isn't it? Because, when you're wanting to part with money or partner with somebody, you do need to reflect on it and sit back and think things through. And somebody, fear of missing out. Well, do it now, or else you'll miss this, or you won't get that.
You'll miss your money is what you'll miss.
Yeah.
I fall for them all the time.
Yeah.
they're getting smarter, these people as well, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
harder and harder to spot the dodgy ones. So
Yeah.
I think, putting yourself or connecting yourself to a group of supportive people that have got your back and know the industry is really important, because at least you can say, oh, I've had this, does that sound right to you? No.
And I think if there are people out there who have fallen victim to these things, they shouldn't feel ashamed, because, it is an incredibly complex, environment to try and figure out and navigate. And things are changing all the time, So I think I sympathize, because, even as I say, someone who I feel like I'm fairly savvy about certain things, it's just a lot coming at people all the time, constantly. And you really have to have your wits about you, and, in order not to, and sometimes it's not even necessarily, as I said, about scamming, but sometimes just falling victim to well-intentioned bad advice, you know? So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily beat yourself up about it. You just kind of take the lesson, take what happened and use it as a lesson to move on and do better the next time, because it can very easily happen.
But it is important to be part of a community. As you say, you are part of these author communities. We obviously are a networking group, creators, and we have people from all creative industries and fields as members. And it's really, especially because so many people work from home now, and in a lot of the creative fields, it is an isolated job that they do. So just to feel connected and to know that you are part of a wider family, so to speak, who you can ask for advice, who you can get support from, that you're not alone when you are lost in this mire, the sea of all this the stuff, especially the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Scammers. And so it is important to be part of communities, especially if you are a creative person working from home.
Yeah, definitely, Julie. And as I said, half of the enjoyment in being part of all of this has been meeting those other creatives, whether it's been online or in person, or just also having knowing that they're like-minded, as I say, like-minded weirdos out there like you, have the same kind of, insecurities, or, or when there's certain little things you might want to celebrate that, say, someone in your inner circle of family so may not understand the importance of that. It's just great to have that, as they say, squad to be like, yeah,
Yeah, you want somebody to be your cheerleader.
Yeah,
because we have a formal monthly networking event. But also we're starting these fam jams where our members can just come on a Friday evening, and we just talk about what we're up to, what we're doing, and have a glass of wine and celebrate each other and support each other. It's very important. As you say, a lot of your family and your friends probably don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's it's not no fault of theirs, because that's not their thing. They love you and they want to support you, but certain things they're not gonna get. So I just think that is, as you say, Julie, that is so it's so important to have that opportunity for that community and camaraderie, and and I say, even if you as I say, we have it online, but I think I still am an advocate for, where possible, I know it's not always possible in these times, but where you can have that in-person connect, when those opportunities come, I think that really helps to even strengthen the ones that are being created online. It's amazing because there are people that I met or followed online during the pandemic who I've now met in person, who now I consider friends, and it's just this past weekend, I went to an event in Luton, and there was a publisher there who I originally approached to do to help me with my book. And then I decided I'll just try and go ahead with it on my own. But now we're friends, and she has, it just really warms my heart, because, if I hear of opportunities for her, I put her forward, and vice versa. And, it's just really great to have, have that opportunity for, not only professional collaboration, but, development of personal relationships as well.
Oh, absolutely. We found that, didn't we? We went along, a few of us creatives, to support one of our members who was exhibiting at a gallery in Camden. And it was lovely to, I'd met her from another networking group. I've known her for a while. And then she joined in creatives, and then another one of our members and his girlfriend came along as well. And it was so lovely. We all got together and celebrated with her for her exhibition, and then had a drink in the pub afterwards. And it was kind of surreal because we all felt like we knew each other. We kind of did, but to see each other face to face, oh my God, you're a real person. I can hug you.
Yeah, sometimes you forget that you haven't actually seen them in real life. It's like I did a podcast with a guy last year, and he was actually in Luton as well. He kind of works remotely. So at the time when he recorded the podcast, he was in the Gambia. He was living in the Gambia, and he came back, and I looked at him and I said, "Oh my God, I didn't realize you were that tall." He said, "People always say that." I said, "You just look a lot shorter online." But he was like this really imposing character.
Oh my God, you've got legs.
Yeah.
Let's get on to some top tips, Marva. Give us some top tips for children's authors or aspiring children's authors, because you have given a lot of advice during this chat on the couch. But your top 3 tips for aspiring children's authors.
I would say read children's books. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and buy out W.H. Smith and Waterstone. Pop down to your local library, get yourself a library card. And that's important, particularly with children's books, particularly if they are younger ones, because you can't kind of do it all through ebooks. You need to look at the physical books. You need to see what covers jump out. You need to see what have a look at what the other kids are reading without being creepy. And get a sense of themes, get a sense of how things are displayed on the pages, look at what's selling. Start doing your research, because I think what a lot of people fall in the trap of thinking is like, oh, I'll write a children's book because it's short, so it must be easy. No, I think it's even harder because
I'm involved with the People's Book Prize, and one of the categories is children's literature. And the books for very young children from the age of, say, 2 to 6, they can be the hardest to write. Because if you don't capture that young imagination and have illustrations that work, your book will fail.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that's a big thing. And secondly, related to that, if you are writing books, you need to get some input from children, you know, and feedback, and do some market research on that front, you know, because I think sometimes we feel like we know it all, you know, and we'll tell them and we're going to teach them about this, and they don't really care about what we want to tell, you know, so there's that as well. And then thirdly, I would say, you know, there are opportunities to get some help in terms of getting support. You know, coming back to what I was saying about, you know, communities and, you know, inspiration. I know this may be a bit of a controversial one at the moment, but Twitter is actually a really good resource for authors and children's. So if you are, you know, inclined to be on there, start following, you know, because then they have like open submissions, they have competitions, you know, there's lots of things on there. I ironically only kind of got into Twitter in the last couple of years. I avoided it for a long time. Maybe I've come to the worst of it now, but it's been really helpful to me. I mainly just watch book people on there anyway. I don't get too caught up in all the other stuff. So yeah, I would say start with those, and that'll get you quite far.
Brilliant. Yeah, Twitter's a bit of a minefield.
Yeah.
You know,
if you're not into it, don't force yourself to go on there. But if you're there already, you might as well, you know.
Depends on who you follow. I have a guilty pleasure on Twitter. I'm not prepared to say what that is, but I also have to be very careful about not getting sucked into the summer that just like, ugh. But it is a great place. What I have to admit, it is a great place. Like a lot of celebrities, as you say, authors, journalists, you know, all the journalists, if you're wanting to get a press release out, or you're wanting something to come to someone's attention, Twitter's a great way to do it because they're all on there.
I know. I didn't realize. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's actually not as hard to get attention in certain areas if you know how to do it on Twitter. So yeah, if you're inclined to step into that wilderness, you make the most of it.
Navigate with caution.
Yeah. Carry a big stick.
Is that you can? I love it and I hate it at the same time. And some days I do just have to just come away because I think I can't do this today. But it can say if you've got a strategy and you know what you're doing, it can be a very good resource. But as I say, I dip in and out, and I haven't been in there for quite a long time because I just can't handle it at the minute. But let's
start delving into Marva's wonderful creative mind.
Yes.
Now, Marva,
you sure you want to do that?
There's no right or wrong answer to these questions that Melanie will ask you. It's basically the weirder the better, actually, because it's quite entertaining to figure out to find out what's going on in somebody's mind. So just say whatever comes into your.
So I've shuffled my cards, and I'm going to spread them out, and I'm going to run my finger up and down the cards in a second, and you just pick a card. You just yell stop when you want me to stop, and we'll pick that card, and that's the card that we will talk about. Ooh, I'm just throwing them on the floor. The first time I've ever done that, I have just thrown them on the floor. Right, okay. Excuse me. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Now that's a magic trick.
I would hold back on that Britain's Got Talent audition now, Melanie.
Right. Okay, I'm back. Right. So I've got arthritis in my fingers, and I've been having a really bad attack with my leg and my hands. So that's what I'm going to blame. It's not me. It's my fingers.
Okay.
Right, okay, let's turn them around the right way now would help. Right, okay, compose yourself, woman. Right, okay. Let's start again, shall we? Okay, I think we're right. Spread. Okay.
It's going to take all day. Oh, there you go.
All right, shall I say stop now?
Stop there. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. What did we pick? What did you pick? I'm going to put them away now just in case of any other incidents. It's going to be one of those afternoons, I can just tell. Right, okay. Ooh, this is a nice one for you. You picked beauty, the value of beauty. So I'm going to ask my normal question because I like it. What does beauty mean to you, Marva? What does it look, feel, and sound like?
Look, feel, and sound like. Okay. So beauty looks like a perfectly ripe mango.
We back to the beginning, back to the mangoes. How wonderful!
Yeah, we never really stray far from that theme.
But you certainly know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
It tastes like a mango.
I love that. I love it. How could more beauty improve the world? How could more mangoes improve the world, Marva?
How could more beauty improve the world? I think, for me, beauty, is not just about, kind of the obvious aesthetic of the physical and the exterior beauty, but I think, the inner beauty. I think when I say inner beauty, like sometimes just, some people just radiate, like that positivity or something, and, they may not necessarily be what we consider conventionally beautiful or handsome or whatever. But there's just something about their spirit that just kind of covers everyone that comes into contact. I think if we can have more of that, and I think that is closely related to kindness, and just seeing other people. And I feel like we really could do with more of that, in the world. So when I think of beauty in that sense, I think, we could have that spreading everywhere as far as possible. That would definitely make a difference.
Definitely. I love that. And I wholeheartedly agree. And I'm not going to think about beauty in any other way. Whenever somebody says beauty to me from now on, I'm going to think, no.
Yeah.
I just am. I love that.
Do you find that for every birthday and Christmas somebody sends you a mango, either a ceramic one or one made out of cloth, or somebody's knitting you
because they're too expensive?
Do you have pictures of mangoes on your wall? Do you put a mango on top of your car?
That's a stretch too far.
Yeah.
I'm
just seeing a world full of mangoes. You've opened up my mind to a world full of mangoes. Marva, you have been marvelous. Thank you so much for coming on the couch with us. We've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it really, really has. Thank you so much. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you to our lovely viewers for tuning in as well. All Marva's details have been going across the screen. So if you want to order Mari Loves Mangoes, you know now where to do it. But until next time, we'll see you.